Hey, this is Aaron Price with Super Inspection Pros here on another episode of Have a Sip podcast. Today, our guest is a longtime realtor.
20 years.
20 years.
This month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Melissa Stalzer. She's a great realtor. I've worked with you a lot.
Yep.
And how did we meet? You remember how we met?
I want to say it was at a home inspection, and we
No.
met because of the dogs.
Well, that's how we re-met.
Oh, yes.
Actually, we met at the first one.
I won your cooler that you were
Yeah.
not raffling off, but it was at the golf tournament.
Yep, that's
It's
right.
all coming back to me. And then I forgot about you.
Yep.
And one day I was walking Swagger, my Rhodesian Ridgeback, past your house. Didn't know we lived in the same neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
And Abe and Swagger just wanted to be friends, like mad crazy. They would smell each other through your fence.
Yeah.
And then one day you caught me, or caught my dog, like literally looking into your fence, and then you were like, I know you. And
Yep.
then that's how we reconnected.
Yep, over dogs.
Over dogs,
So,
yep.
we had worked together one time before, and you were the listing agent. I remember it was a house in Orange City. It didn't end up going through. I'm sorry about that.
That's okay. It was probably for good reason, I would
Yeah.
imagine.
But anyhow, we've worked together since, and you're a lifer, just like I am. Been in the business a long time, so it's great whenever, two lifers come together in this industry. They can really help each other and make the transaction a successful one because they've overcome so many things before.
Yeah.
So anyhow, with your extensive knowledge, we'll get into some of our real estate questions. And you should have some pretty good stories because you've been around 20 years.
I got some stories.
Yes.
Yes, I do.
So what's one of the most surprising or unusual things that you've seen in a real estate transaction?
Young agents, and I know we all start somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't love the attitude on a lot of the younger realtors who we will mentor you if we can tell you're new, but if you have an attitude right off the cuff, like my buyer's not going to do that or my seller's not going to do that. And it's like, are you speaking on behalf of your customer? Because that's not how it works. We are facilitating a transaction. And so if I call you and say, I just spoke with my seller, because I did speak to my seller, and they're not prepared to do X, Y, Z, they're like, well, then my buyer's going to cancel. Well, okay, that's okay. But did you even speak to your customer? Because, by the way, he will do DEF, but not the way that you worded it. Because I had one realtor in particular who wrote me an email. It was so nasty. Of course, I looked up her numbers because I love to know who I'm working with. And she basically wrote, if your seller does not do, and I kid you not, 26 repair items on an as-is contract where he's already contributing $10,000 towards closing, we are canceling. Take this as your official notice that if you do not have your seller fix these items, we are canceling the contract. And I called my seller, and I read 2 out of the 20. He's like, no. One of them was add gutters.
Yeah.
We never advertised that we were going to put gutters on the property. That was never part of the equation. Take the $10,000 in closing cost assistance and put on your own gutters. How about that? So her pompous attitude really killed the deal because at the end of the day, he might have given maybe another couple $1,000s in incentives now that we have the knowledge of some of the things that actually do matter. But it was just, again, the attitude. So I guess what I'm really surprised about in real estate is that, you don't have to be super kind. It's just don't be an ass. Don't be a jerk.
Yeah.
It's really, we're working together to try to, because again, we don't get paid till we close, right?
Yeah.
And in
You're
my
both
case,
in it together.
we're both in it to win it, I'd like to think. And then I'm thinking to myself, now you're going to drive around with this buyer, even if they meet you at each property. And you know what? When you're buying a home that's older, you're going to have some problems. I mean, I guess manage the expectation of your customer. Hey, the house is 20 years old. Good news, it has a new roof. Good news, the seller's going to give you $10,000. Maybe don't nickel and dime them when we go through inspection because they're going to find something. They always do. Someone like you is going to be like, you know what? Half of this looks good and half of it not so good, right?
Yeah.
For instance, if a window doesn't stay up right, that to me is a safety issue. God forbid you have a little kid or anybody opens that window, it slams their fingers, right? If a seller is now notified by the home inspector that that's a safety issue, even though we do have an as-is contract, you and I both know they don't have to do anything about that. But me being me, I would put press upon them like, hey, it would be the right thing to do to fix this moving forward, whether this buyer stays on or not, because this is going to be an ongoing problem. Adding gutters, no.
No,
That's
that's
not
a
the way-
luxury, although
That's not the way it works.
required. You know, they're good.
They
They're a
are.
good first step. I tell people when I do home inspections all the time, man, you need to add gutters to this place like really quickly because the
It erodes.
overhangs on these new houses are like a foot.
And they are eroding the dirt, but
Yeah,
I
eroding.
get why you'd want it. But that's, again, a negotiation like for my buyer. If I had the buyer in that transaction, I would say, I'll certainly present this because I work for you, right? But it's going to be unrealistic ask because you're already getting an incentive.
You're controlling their expectations.
Yes, and then when I come back and say, they're not giving you the gutters, they're not going to hate me, right? Because I manage their expectations.
A lot of people in this industry, I feel like they don't want to have a tough or difficult conversation.
It has to happen.
Yeah, I mean, there's, you got to get down to it.
You do. So in that regard, I have a gentleman who I really respect. We've done a lot of deals together. And he has a home that he wanted $1.7 million for. And in my opinion, it was worth a little over $1 million, but just not that 1.7, you know? And I respect him so much, and we forged a friendship, and it really hurt me to have to tell him, I'm not the agent for you. I mean, who doesn't want a $1.7 million listing? And he just was like, come on, Melissa, you can do this for me. And I'm like, I really can't. The equity's just not there, in my professional opinion. Now, you will find a realtor who will list your
hang a
house
sign.
for $1.7 million.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be me because I respect you too much, and I really don't want you to be calling me every week like, why haven't I at least brought anybody in to see the property?
Right.
So I managed his expectation by being frank with him. Just, this is the truth. This is not going to happen. Well, he did find a realtor who listed it for the $1.7 million. He shared the link with me. I went to the broker's open party, and it was a party because, if you're going to showcase a $1.7 million home, I mean, they did it right. I was really proud of him, who he chose. She gave it a really good try. And then a couple months later, it didn't sell. So he called me again. Hey, I found another realtor. He'll partner with you at the 1.7. And I said, no can do. I list houses to sell houses. I don't list houses to list houses. Now, I do have that luxury, I suppose, after being in the business all this time.
Yeah.
And so he went ahead and hired him anyway, without me as a partner. And then that one didn't even last 2 weeks because for whatever reason, that relationship just was, again, it didn't work. So then he called me again, will you list this property? And I said, it's never going to happen. If you want me to be your listing agent, let me just list it for what I told you it would be worth, and then we can have a real conversation. So it never sold, by the way. Although I did hear he found somebody on his own, like a for sale by owner situation. I don't know what the contract terms look like, none of my business. But ultimately, he respected my opinion because I was never going to get that price tag. And then here I am spending money on professional photography, right? And a broker's open that cost a pretty penny, and food and drink, and all for not nothing, but to look at him and say, I'm so sorry I couldn't get it sold. Like what's the incentive in that for me to spend all that kind of money on something that's not going to happen?
Yeah. If it's not the right price, it's going to be tough for sure.
So just manage your expectations with the buyers and sellers. You just got to tell them what it is. They'll respect you for it. I mean, at the end of the day, I know that they'll be like, okay, well, that's not going to work out, but at least she was honest.
What is a common myth about your industry that you wish you could disperse?
Oh, that it's easy. I have a friend who is extremely brilliant. Like, she might even be a genius. Don't tell her I said that. She's not in the real estate business. She's actually in medical sales, not like pharmaceutical, but kind of. She's got all these degrees, and I mean all these degrees. And you have to have that for the type of business that she's in. And she knows that I just went to high school, went into the military. I did take some college classes, but I don't have a college degree. And it burns her that we make equal money, or I might even make a little bit more than her at times, because of how much dedication and work that she put in to have that said degree for that particular position. Now, I'm never going to be able to land a position like that because I don't have the education to do so. So she basically was like, I'm just going to go ahead and quit and become a real estate agent. And I was like, do it. Do it, because she lives beachside, by the way. I'm like, I'll refer you anything I get beachside. You're capable. You are capable of this job. She's like, well, I mean, it's nothing. And I'm like, what do you mean it's nothing? And then that's when I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. Maybe I make it look easy, right? Because I'm a hustler when it comes to my morning routine. I do my emails, my farming, my advertising, my little cartoons, right, on social media. And so I compartmentalize my time.
Right.
And so by the time she sees me, when she's coming home from like Advent Health on I-4 and we maybe hook up for an appetizer and a glass of wine, I'm done for the day for the most part, unless somebody wants to show a house or ask me for a listing appointment in the afternoon. Of course, I'm going to always make exceptions, but she'll just see me and she's like, oh, it must be so nice for you to be just done for the day at 2 o'clock. And I'm like, yeah, but I've been at it since 7 o'clock. And then when you go home, I'm going to go home and maybe upload that listing into my computer, right? And I might work till midnight. And then I'm going to do it all over again, right? Because we work remote. Sometimes I can even work while I'm having the appetizer and the glass of wine. You know, again, social media is not difficult. You know, it's not for everybody. Some people are afraid to get in front of the camera or talk about themselves or talk about the industry. But I'd love for people not to have the preconceived notion that it's just easy because it's the last thing that it is. We wear so many hats, right? Buyers, sellers that we have to contend with. Buyers' uncles who used to be, you know, a home inspector, or a buyer's dad who used to be in construction, right? Now we have the buyer and the buyer's family, right? Then we have the sellers. Then we have the home inspectors who actually are the home inspector. Then you have the appraiser. Then you have the lender if they're not paying cash. Then you have the loan processor because, God forbid, you only talk to the loan officer maybe the first 2 phone calls and then they kick you over to the loan processor. So there are like 10 to 12 people that we have to literally touch and communicate with in order to have that successful transaction, right? That's a lot of people in the pot. And many things I love about real estate, but one of the things that stands out for me is it's never boring. It could never be boring because no transaction is the same because the people change, you know?
It's a lot of personalities to manage.
A lot of personalities. And I joke often, and I don't mind saying it, I'm probably more 90% counselor, 10% sales. Because I can sell. But navigating these personalities, they're going through a divorce, they're going through a separation. The kids live in the house part-time, and so I know I can't show the house maybe on those particular days because mom has already told me not going to happen. I got one in particular right now, she's a tenant, and during the summer I could never get a showing because her kids were home. And so therefore, in her mind, the house wasn't show ready. I don't know how the house looked, but she was like, not today. And then I had to call the owner and say, listen, I'm going to certainly play nice with your tenant because I have, of course, a respect for the fact that they have a lease, but I can't show it. I can't sell it. And, you know, she won't let me in. And he's like, yeah, I've already had a talk with her. So my proposal was maybe temporarily take it off the market for the summer so that the average day on market for that particular house is not adding up to where people go, what's wrong with it? Well, in this case, there's really nothing wrong with it. It's a very cute home in DeLand. And of course, you know, we have A-grade schools now, right? Go for Volusia County. Community pool. Like it's a want. People want this house, but I can't get in, you know?
How did you develop the skill to read people, to manage the personalities? Was there books that you read? Or
No.
Was this just learned?
Yeah. I'm the youngest of 6 kids. So I've had older brothers and sisters. My parents had me when they were 40. And at some point, you know, my mom was a stay-at-home mom, and she did not have the dynamic personality. She laughed a lot, and she had a lot of people who liked her. But my dad was like a mover and a shaker. And he worked for Rikers Island Prison in New York City for like over 20 years. And he just had a way with people. I don't know how he was with his prisoners because, you know, he was a guard, but he would walk into a room, he would talk to anybody, he could communicate with anybody, he could certainly speak his mind to anybody. And I think growing up with that kind of personality kind of shaped mine. He had a gift of gab. He was pretty funny. You know, he had a good sense of humor. We shared the love of movies a lot. Like Blockbuster was a thing back then. And when he was off, which was rare because my mom was stay at home, he would, you know, watch movies with me. And then I learned about timing, right? So like something was funny. He's like, do you know why that was funny? It was the way they said it, how they said it, quick wit. You know, so he kind of molded me, I guess, to just think for myself, think outside the box. He would have this saying, you are your own best friend. Like, that's it. You can have friends, but if you don't look out for you, then no one else will, you know. No one's coming to rescue you. You got to take care of your own business. And then one day he came to me and said, we're moving to Deltona, Florida. And I said, I believe you're saying Daytona wrong. And he said, no, I'm not. So this was 1988. And we moved to Deltona, right off of Providence, where the KFC is. And it's still there, although been remodeled since. But I remember thinking, oh my God, how did he even find this little town? It wasn't even a city then.
Yeah, I
you know?
wonder that too, because there was nothing really
There was
there.
nothing here.
Yeah.
And, you know, being a New Yorker and not really understanding the Florida heat, I would get on my bicycle and I would try, my mom called it friend finding. She was like, oh, you're friend finding today? I'm like, I guess, because I was getting ready to start high school and I knew no one, you know, I don't know a whole lot of teenagers at 14 coming from a different state. And I had, you know, big hair and pale skin. And I'm just driving around the neighborhood, like literally friend finding, because I was like, what else am I going to do? And then so I started high school knowing no one. The two young ladies that I did meet were visiting for the summer, so they weren't even going to my high school, you know. And anyway, so I just had to fake it till I made it. And my freshman year, I didn't really have a whole lot of friends, but by the time my sophomore year came around, things changed.
Well, my dad was also like that too. He was gifted gab. Everyone loved him. Got along with everybody. Talked to everybody. I watched that growing up, and I do the same thing. And you know, you don't know who's watching you and what they're learning from you.
No, and some, you know, and we're extroverts, Aaron. I mean, you're a little bit more soft-spoken than I am sometimes, I think. I always blame the New York side of me when I get, you know, loud and stuff. But yeah, being an extrovert is very pivotal, in my opinion, to being a successful salesperson.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, don't get me wrong, introverts can be just fine. They can get the job done. But they usually like being behind the scenes, you know, like whether they're a transaction coordinator, you know, because again, I have no problem walking to a space that I know no one and trying to make friends.
Yeah, you're going to leave there with some people's names.
I hope so.
And some contacts.
Yes.
You know,
Hopefully.
because in real estate, and if you're an entrepreneur and you own your own business, you're always selling.
I would like to think so.
Yep.
And, you know, so I was on a real estate panel 2 days ago, Real Estate Tools for Success, and it was a really good turnout. They had about 32 realtors there. And, you know, everybody had a chance to speak, right? And then when they were standing up because people in the back couldn't hear, right? And they were like, when it was my turn, I'm like, listen, my voice carries. I'm like, you guys can hear me back there? And they're like, yes. I'm like, okay, so I don't have to stand up. So I tried to make my presence known. I want everybody to know that I am there. I don't want to be obnoxious. I don't want people to be turned off by me by any stretch. But if I'm going to be somewhere, I'm like, I'm here. Like, and let's talk about it. And then when people say, oh, how's the real estate market? Don't just go, it's good. I'll say, well, which side are you on right now? What do you care about? Are you looking to buy, looking to sell? And I know maybe not right now, but like be more specific on what you're asking me about the real estate market.
Yeah. Because you got an opinion.
It's an open, yes, and it's an open-ended question. Like, oh, it's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's kind of like, how are you doing today?
Yeah.
You know.
But and then people always usually go, I'm pretty good,
Right.
even if they're not. You know. So I'd rather have a real open conversation because I have a lot of information to give. Whether you agree with it or not is obviously up to you.
Yep.
On the panel, one of the realtors was like, you know, we're kind of like local celebrities. And it made me chuckle, but I knew what she meant.
Yeah.
Because we're constantly putting our face on everything, right? Our name on everything. Maybe our slogan, which mine is make your move with swagger, right? A play on my dog, which means to move with confidence, right? So we are, I have banners at the schools. You know, I know our children went to school together, right? So when he was at Freedom, I had a banner at Freedom. When he went to DeLand Middle, I had a banner at DeLand Middle because not only do I want to support the school, but I want the last name Stalzer to resonate with all those people who drive by, right? Because my name is Melissa Lynn Stalzer. I'm also the MLS, ironically, right? And so I want the schools to know that not only is my child going here, but I support your children too, because when you buy those banners, right, you're getting the recognition, of course, but the money goes to the school.
Right.
Then when he went to DeLand High, guess what I did? I put another banner up because now he's in high school, right? He's a senior this year. So the recognition is what she was talking about being local celebrity.
No, I get it. What she's saying too.
Yeah, and what I love about it though is like when Chris and I or my son Frankie and I we're all out to dinner, you know, it is, oh hey Melissa, how's it going? You know, oh hey, it's good to see you. And sometimes I don't know if I know them from real estate or from the school or from the fact that we go to the same, drinking hole on a Friday night, but who cares? I'm just gonna wave, smile and wave. Like the penguin.
I remember whenever I first got into this business, and whenever because you see their faces on the sign, I was learning who was the realtors that I wanted to get in contact with.
Yeah.
And so when I would meet them out, either at a location, just crossing paths at an industry night or something like that, or I actually had a deal where they were either the listing agent or the buyer's agent, it was kind of like meeting a celebrity because you had them like built up. You're like, oh, wow, this person's really busy. I need to, really, put my best foot forward here because I want to work with them.
Yeah.
And you want that opportunity. And that way, when they see you again, chances are they're just going to be like, I don't remember you. But whatever, they see me 2-3 times. A lot of times that would happen in like 1 week where I would have like multiple touch points. And next thing you know, they start remembering. And then they give you that call.
Yeah.
And, now it's showtime. And, you want to do well for them. But I remember thinking like a little bit of local celebrity whenever I met them.
Yeah, so she wasn't wrong. And again, anybody on that panel, we just kind of chuckled because we are putting our face, our image, our reputation out there, right? And so, yeah, Homes and Land magazine. I mean, every now and again I'll score the cover, but it has to be a home, obviously, that I believe in. But I love that magazine, too, because everybody is all digital these days. But again, if you go on a listing presentation and they're like, and they maybe did call me because they went to school with my son and they saw my banners, or they're a referral, I like to kind of hand that to them because it's something tangible. They can touch it, right? They can look at it, they open it, it's glossy. And then what happens when they go inside, they see my face again, my name again. And so the Homes and Land magazine is a pretty cool tool if you want to do something that's not all digital. People still get mail, postcards, right? Everyone, look what I just sold.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we put our face on it again.
I get those magazines so I can get contacts out of it.
There you go. Yeah, that's a way to do it.
What is a quick tip that could save someone thousands of dollars in a transaction?
Offer a credit in lieu of making cosmetic repairs. I constantly get sellers who call me to list a home and like, well, I don't want you to come yet because we're going to remodel the bathroom or we're going to go ahead and paint the kitchen cabinets. And I say, abort mission. Please don't do that. Because what if you paint the cabinets blue, which is a really popular color right now, right? Or that green that everybody's loving. And you get somebody who wanted white. Well, now they have to undo what you did, and you spent the money and the time and the energy on something that we could have said, we'll offer a $5,000 cabinet allowance or a painting allowance, and then let them choose. You want to remodel the bathroom, great. You want to make it modern, that's awesome. What if they wanted the Tiffany glass for whatever reason? I mean, my younger buyers are coming to where the retro style is really intriguing to them. So I think the way you can save people money, sellers in particular, is to say, listen, if I feel like it's going to make you money, not even money, I will ask you to do it. But rehabbing a perfectly good kitchen from white to green or blue, that's a very specific taste. I would ask that you don't do that. And then we don't even have to say how much of an incentive, just that you are willing to contribute something. So instead of paying $5,000 to $8,000 on cosmetic upgrades, we can say with an acceptable offer, the seller will contribute towards your closing costs, right? Now they have the money in their pocket, keys exchanged, right? Seller makes their money, they go in, whether they do or don't update that kitchen, I don't care.
Right.
No one cares.
You gave them the choice.
We gave them the choice.
Yep.
Now, I went to a listing appointment the other day where the bathroom was unfinished. They didn't finish tiling it, and they were going to do like a half wall with glass. Well, in that case, they have to spend the money because otherwise we're going to pigeonhole ourselves with what kind of buyer we can sell that property to, right? Because FHA, VA, I mean, clearly you're going to call it out as an inspector, right? This is what I always say to my buyers. The home inspection is for your peace of mind. The 4-point and the wind mitigation inspection is for your insurance's peace of mind. And the appraisal is for the lender's peace of mind. So if you don't like something on the home inspection, we can address it with the seller. But if you're good, I'm good, right? If the insurance company doesn't like the wind mit or the 4-point, even though we have an as-is contract, I have a duty to go back to the seller's agent and say, listen, it's not the buyer's ask. This is the insurance company. I know we have an as-is, but can we address these items? And if they say no, it may not be the house for my buyer. Or maybe they say, well, the seller doesn't want to fix anything, right? But we'll go ahead and give you $4,000 towards closing costs. And then maybe I do some homework, which I will, and find an insurance carrier who will cover us until closing. And then within 30 days, the buyer's now on the hook for those repairs, right? And then the appraisal. Again, if the appraiser comes in and sees an unfinished bathroom or an unfinished kitchen, we're going to have no longer an as-is value. They might say, sure, Melissa, the house is worth $420,000, subject to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Or my favorite is an additional smoke detector. That's easy enough. I can do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I would say that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
Well, this has been our latest episode of Have a Sip podcast. Today, our guest was Melissa Stalzer, a very experienced realtor, 20 years in the business. Thank you so much for being here. How can the people get in touch with you?
My cell phone number, 386-405-3457. I know you younger folks, heck, even the older ones now, just want to text. You can text me, and if you'd like to call, I will pick up the phone. And then, of course, you can find me online at Melissa Stalzer, makeyourmovewithswagger.com. And, pick up a magazine or a postcard in your mailbox. You'll find me there, pretty much.
And she's on the banners around the schools.
In the schools, yep.
So DeLand High banner, just drive by the school, you'll see her there.
Yep.
So excellent. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for
having me. It was really a great talk.
I appreciate it.